Good evening, TheoTrade. This is Corey Rosenblum, and you're watching the Theo Nightly video for the 12th of October here in 2021. And the markets remain in between land. We'll talk about that. We'll also discuss some key earnings, and that may be what the market is in betweening or consolidating on, which is the financial sector, which reports, including JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, and other financial stocks we'll see just in a moment, which will be reporting earnings tomorrow, Thursday, or a little bit later. But first, let's look at the S&P, which continues its, what is it? Is it a downtrend? Is it an uptrend? Is it a sideways trend? Not so clear in the S&P, but we have broken the uptrend. So that's over. We're in consolidation mode, and we're playing the in-between. And the in-between, if we can sort of cut through all those lines, the in-between is roughly about 4,300, and the way up to the high, 4,550. We just came down off the in-between, which is about 4,400. So we are pulling back from that high. Key is going to be if we break that 4,300 level, that will open up a path toward, again, that target we've been discussing, about 4,150 or maybe as high as 4,200, which would correspond with prior lows. That's in the S&P futures. For the Nasdaq, we'll zoom in on it. Similarly, it has broken. It's not quite as clear maybe as the S&P on that pullback, but its key inflection point and where we are now is the 14,500. And that is, again, lower lows, lower highs, pulling back or falling potentially down to the 14,000 level if this downtrend in motion continues and takes us back on a deeper pullback. But this is where the in-between makes bigger significance, because the Dow Mini Futures, just 30 stocks, but it's worth looking at just for a moment, continues its trading range, and it's a lot more defined than the others at 35,000 and about 33 and 5. But it's the Russell, that's our small cap index, which is the most in between. It is the in-betweenest, I'm making up words, but the in-betweenest market of them all. And that is where we trade. So for the RTY, that's our Russell futures contract, our key levels remain roughly 21.25 and about 23.25. That extends up to the prior highs and prior lows. Just to keep those in mind as zones. But we're in between the in-between, and that's the purpose or the topic of tonight's video. So not much we can say until we get breakouts from here. Not much we can glean about the future because the market is and remains in sideways consolidation mode, and there is no directional bias. That means keep safe, keep protected, keep hedged, play a little closer to the vest, play a little tighter on your options or any type of swing positions, and initiate the shorts from the top of the range, longs from the bottom of the range, but there isn't any edge or any sort of play when we're at the middle, unless you're selling premium beyond these extremes, or maybe playing a butterfly or some type of direction neutral trade with respect to one of those sides being tested or being pushed into. This is not true when we look at crude oil. The energy crisis or the energy slowdown or the energy crunch, that remains. Of course, that's more so in Europe and other parts of the world, but nevertheless, crude oil, looking at CL, contract CL, you can look at USO or other things in the energy sector. In fact, we'll take a quick look at USO. Of course, be careful before trading this. Read the prospectus and the fine print on trading the USO. But it is tracking the energy market. And again, we do chart trade and play within crude oil, which has broken above 80 per barrel. And it wasn't long ago, in the heart of the pandemic, 2020, that crude oil traded under $10 a barrel, and one contract, the front month contract, traded negative. But that was then. We are back to the range highs and have broken them to levels not seen on the chart since 2018. So just like we would think of strong stocks getting stronger, crude oil is a commodity, and it has remained strong, if we call that strong, coming off of its 2020 lows, and has achieved its recovery high, and now back to the daily chart, trades above it. Now, one thing to look at even though you might not trade natural gas, this is the futures contract NG, and it continues its uptrend, higher highs, higher lows. And this is where it's risky, and we'll discuss this, to play bullishly at all-time highs. It is better to play bullishly if that is your choice and trade on pullbacks or retracements, not at all-time highs. But natural gas did strengthen and make a new high well above the 6 print, and it has done so on strong volume. So you may not be trading this, but it is something to watch behind the scenes. And if you do, again, want to trade an ETF, read the prospectus of UNG and understand the ramifications and what risks are part of it. But nonetheless, if you trade options or other positions, it is a tradable ETF if you do want to participate or take part or hedge into this trend and volatility. This would be headline news. It would be global functions as opposed to anything else on plays, how you might take advantage or mitigate risk within the energy space. Of course, you can do so easier with XLE, which is the energy ETF. That is, read its perspective as well, but it won't have the additional paperwork or requirements as others might. But XLE is a ETF we track alongside financials, which are going to be in play tomorrow, Thursday, and the remainder of this week, and we'll focus on that at the moment. So we'll shift our perspective from energy, natural gas, and the other sectors to the financials. And this is strange, one of those things that if you aren't watching it closely, or if you're not trading it as well, you may have missed this, which is that the financial sector, alongside XLE, made new, I want to double check, not all-time highs in energy, but financials did. So financials did make all-time highs. Energy sector is making recovery highs on their charts. Nonetheless, they are new 52-week highs. And particularly in financials, that will translate into such names as JP Morgan. We'll look at Morgan Stanley, which pulled back. Wells Fargo off the highs. Citigroup off its highs as well. Bank of America, new high. And US Bank Corp. I have these listed in an order, and the order is when they will be reporting earnings. It's hard to see on the screen, but all this is sorted on the days till earnings column. Lots of ways to find which stocks are reporting earnings. I just have this as a watch list in the S&P 100, and just the column that is with us here at TheoTrade of days till earnings. And we just click and sort. And if it has a 1, that means pre-market tomorrow. If it has a 2, that means 2 days out pre-market. That's going to be, as of this video, on Thursday. And a lot of financials, key financial stocks, will be reporting. So I'm sure we'll be discussing financial trades. You may already have some on. You may have earnings-based butterflies or other type of trades that take advantage of earnings or in-out spreads. And of course, any of these stocks could fit those criterion. But they will be reporting earnings, and if you do not trade in front of earnings, these would be stocks to put on the watch list until after this week, or into next week, to trade any type of setup, any type of risk mitigation or play, spreads, anything like that in these stocks. Just know that those earnings are coming up, and they will be volatile. Could be volatile. We don't know, but could be volatile. That's the big picture on the markets now. We still have this middle of the road, muddling in the middle, playing in between. So be careful with your risk. The market is consolidating, setting up a bigger move, but it makes sense to go sideways or consolidate, range contract, digest some of the gains, and mitigate some of the upside movement by going sideways or even down. Very logical thing. This market has been overextended far too long. It is well within the expected logic and expected play, a little overdue perhaps, to be getting a pullback or sideways action. As always, be careful and safe. This is Corey Rosenblum with tonight's Theo video update for October 12th, 2021.